Hey everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to the award-winning My Kind of Country right here on MKOCRadio.com. My guest tonight has been steeped in country music history. She has the distinction of being the only female member of Roy Acuff's Smoky Mountain Boys. She has recorded with country music greats including Red Sovine and the great Lefty Frizzell. She's been on Starday Records, Columbia, Decca. She's had some great hits, and she's here with me tonight to talk about her fabulous career in country music. It's an honor to welcome June Stearns to My Kind of Country. June, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Nice to talk to you on the air tonight. And it was certainly wonderful to meet you down there at the Midnight Jamboree a few weeks ago. What a great time that was.
Yes, it was nice to meet you, too. We had a fun night that night, didn't we?
Oh, man, I'll tell you, there was a lot of people down there, and I was running, but, boy, I sure enjoyed every second of it. Oh, my goodness. Well, I read that you grew up in Franklin, Indiana, and I used to live not too far from there. Tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Well, that is not correct. I don't know who put that on the internet, but I grew up around Newcastle, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
It's about 50 miles east of Indianapolis.
Yep.
And I was born in Albany, Kentucky, and my folks moved to Indiana when I was about 2 years old, so I went to school up there and graduated up there and everything. And anyway, I started playing music my mother taught me a chord when I was 6 years old. I was in the bed with the flu, and I said, "Mama, bring me the guitar," and she did, and she showed me a G chord. So that started me playing my guitar. And by the time I was 9, I was playing on the radio station at Newcastle with Skinny Garrett and his Rhythm Rangers.
Wow.
And it just started off from there, just playing different places around local and everything. And then when I graduated, I believe I had graduated from high school when I started to work on a TV show, Charlie Gore. Have you ever heard of him?
I sure have,
Gore?
Yeah. Yep, I sure have.
Anyway, he had a TV show out of Indianapolis, and I played on that. And then from that, I guess I went to the Midwestern Hayride in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was fun. I'd watched a lot of those people for years, and it was fun to get to meet all of them and everything.
Sure.
But, and then when I went with Roy, it was kind of an odd situation. I wrote him a letter for a job, but he had never heard me or anything. And I never did ask him if he called WLW in Cincinnati and asked them about me or what. I wish I had, but I never thought to. But anyway, he wanted me to go overseas with him for 3 months, so that's when I started with Roy.
Oh, wow.
But I was the 5th Smoky Mountain girl, and the last one. Rachel Veach was the first one, with Oz, and they called her Oswald's sister. But she wasn't a sister. They just done that because it wasn't nice for a girl to ride everywhere with a bunch of men back then,
Yeah.
So that's the way they got around that. And then I believe Jerry Johnson might have been the next one. And then June Webb and Melba Montgomery and then me.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was the last one.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Now, how long did you perform with Roy?
Well, I started in 1960 on those overseas trips, but I wasn't a full member then. And I worked the West Coast with them and Las Vegas, and I believe I played Franklin, Indiana, come to think about it, with them one time. And then after I moved to Nashville, then I joined them in I think it was either 62 or 63 as a member of the group.
Wow. Now,
And then I worked till 65 after, we had that wreck near Sparta, and I had a broken ankle in that wreck, and he was going to go to Vietnam, and of course I think I was still on crutches at the time. I told him, I said, well, I'm just not able to go, and he said, well, I've got to have somebody. So I don't know who he got to go with him, but anyway, that's when I quit.
okay. Now, you had signed to Starday Records during this time too, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't really sign with them, but just a few songs was all with Gene Martin. And Roy wanted us to do that because, Gene was in the group, and that was for our show.
Okay.
So we done, I don't know how many songs it was, 4 or 5 maybe, I don't know. And then I did do one before that, was the first song that I ever recorded with Pete Drake, and he's talking steel guitar. And he called and wanted me to do that with him. So that was my first record, and that was on Star Day.
Oh, yeah. And then you had a version of Dear John, too, with Red Savine on that label.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, but I never did meet Red. I done my part out there at Star Day, and he come in and done his part later, so I never did meet Red.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I'll be darned. Well, I've got that record. In fact, I'm going to play it here in a little bit for the folks.
Have you? I thought it turned out real good. Of course, Red, he's so good at the recitations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to ask you, there's it's kind of a rare find. A lot of folks don't know about it unless they really dig deep into Lefty Frizzell's career, but you had a record out with him under the name of Agnes and Orville.
Yes. And the way that come about, we were in our producer Frank Jones's office one day, and Lefty had an album in his hand, and I was looking at that, and I said, Lefty, what's your middle name? It said William O. Frizzell. He said, oh, I'm not going to tell that. I said, well, it can't be no worse than my first name, Agnes, and he just, he fell out of laughing. He said, well, in that case, it's Orville. So we had a big laugh about that. So Frank, he decided he would put us out as Agnes and Orville.
I'll be darned.
But I guess, a lot of people didn't know who Agnes and Orville was, so I don't know if we got very many plays on it or not.
Well, you had the 145. It was Have You Ever Been Untrue? And then you did a cover of If You Got the Money, I Got the Time on the flip side of that one.
Yeah, Lefty wanted to do that one.
Yeah, that's really cool. What was it like working with Lefty Frizzell?
Well, it was fun. I always admired him since I was probably 10 or 12 years old when he first come out with his records. And I just thought he was the greatest thing ever was, so it really thrilled me to get to sing with him. But anyway, we sang on this one mic in the Columbia studio, and he never phrased anything right. He'd sing it one way one time and one way the next. So I had to watch his lips to know how to sing with him. So I guess I done pretty good. That was fun to get to sing with him.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the only duets he ever did, and I think probably the only time he ever sang with a female.
Well, I have no idea about that.
I'd have to ask David about that, but I'm pretty sure. I think you were the only one he sang with. So that's
could have been. Yeah. I don't really know.
That's pretty cool. Well, you of course went on with a great recording contract with Columbia Records, and you had some great hits: solo album River Regret, and Empty House, and Where He Stops Nobody Knows. You had some fantastic songs on that label.
Oh, thank you.
What was it?
Yeah, I had good musicians on that album. I had the cream of the crop on there. What they call the A Team, and of course Grady Martin, and I had Jerry Bird on some of them, and I always loved Jerry's steel guitar playing, and just the whole bunch of them that was the best, you know, and the Jordanaires and Millie Kirkham that always sung with them. So that was, I really enjoyed that.
That's great. Millie Kirkham always sang the real high parts in those songs.
Real high. Yeah. She passed away back, maybe a couple of years ago, something like that. Of course, all the Jordanaires are gone except Ray Walker.
Yeah.
And, of course, most of the musicians are gone, too, that was on that album, except Bradley, Owen Bradley's brother. What's his name?
Harold.
Yeah, Harold.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't think for a minute.
Yep.
I think they're about all gone but him.
Yeah, I know. Well, Pig Robbins is
now,
still
Bobby
around, too.
Moore. I'll take that back, but Bobby's real sick, and he was on some of them.
Yeah.
Played the bass.
Oh, those guys were the best. There's no doubt about that.
They were.
Tell me about working with Johnny Duncan.
Oh, he was such a good singer. And we cut one album. You probably got that one.
Yep, back to back.
He was a nice guy. And I enjoyed singing with him.
Well, you had a huge hit with him, Jackson Ain't a Very Big Town.
Yeah.
I still get a lot of requests for that one on my show. That's a fabulous song.
Oh, do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you went on to record with Decca Records, and you had...
I did.
You had a really interesting kind of one of those answer-type songs that they did back in those days to Don Gibson's Woman, Sensuous Woman. You had Man, Sensuous Man.
Yeah, Yeah, I got my producer was Owen Bradley on my Decca records.
Oh man! Of course, folks are familiar with Owen Bradley's name. He was Patsy Cline's producer for all of her records with Decca, and
yes.
Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn, so many of the great ones, and just had that magic touch. And I don't care who the artist was, you could always tell if Owen Bradley was producing because he had that signature sound that he incorporated with everybody's records, and it was just so cool, you know.
I think he was the best producer there ever was because I don't know. He told the musicians exactly what he wanted, and they done it. And some of the other producers, they just let them do what they want to, you know. But Owen didn't. He told them what he wanted them to play.
Did he have some advice and guidance for you as you were recording?
No, not really. That I can remember.
Well, he certainly was fabulous. He had some great records. You're Kind of Lovin', I absolutely love that song, and Walking the Midnight Road. Just some fabulous songs on that. You had a lot of great music out. It's when I go back and listen to your records, it's just truly amazing. You have such a great voice, and you still do. You're still, I see videos of you on YouTube and Facebook, and you're still singing fantastic. And man, I'll tell you, you were definitely blessed.
Well, I appreciate that.
So
I still enjoy it. You know, I don't do any shows anymore. I haven't for years, but I kind of got out of the business when my son was born. I wanted to raise him, so that's how come I got out of the business.
Well, that's to be admired. You got to put family first, you know. Well, you are certainly well respected in the circle of musicians down in Nashville, and I know you're very active down there, and you spend a lot of time. I've seen where you've been at Mac Wiseman's guitar pulls and all these different places.
Yeah, we got another one coming up on the 19th.
Oh, great!
So that should be fun.
Mac is a fabulous man. I've had him on the show a couple times, and such a nice man. Absolutely. I think it's cool that he gets everybody together and does that. You know, that's a lot of fun. There's a camaraderie of the older musicians that still exists, and I know everybody supports everybody, and it's just it's fun to get together, you know.
Yet old Mac will be 93 years old this month.
Man, it's hard to believe. Hard to believe.
I know it. And he still sits there in his chair and sings and enjoys every minute of it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I know it.
And I know you're good friends with Jerry Collins. Jerry was on my show a while back, and of course Gwen and Jerry. And I got to spend some time with him down there in Nashville. Of course, we met at the Jamboree, and then I ran into him over at Revelry over in Hendersonville on Thursday night when I was down there. Got to visit some more. So he's a great guy.
Yeah, I've known Jerry for 55 years. He was a friend of ours.
Wow, that's a long time. Now
I know it.
Now, June, you had another album out in, I think it was in 2009, called The Many Sounds of Country. Is that right?
Was that the one on Star Day?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that they probably took so many records out of, songs out of my songs that I done for them, and then wasn't that one that had different girl singers on it?
Yeah, it was kind of a compilation type of thing, I think it was.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
They always done that. I don't know how many albums they have put my songs on. I have no idea.
You turned up on a lot of them. Now, have you done any recording in recent years?
No, I haven't.
Well, that's a shame. You really should, because you've got just a beautiful voice, and I know everybody would love to hear some new music from you.
Well, thank you. I might one of these days. Who knows?
Well, who are some other people that you've worked with over the years that kind of stand out in your mind?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Seemed like there was one more that I done a duet with, but I can't think who it was now. It's been a long time ago, Scott.
Yeah, I understand. That's for sure.
But those, I guess, were the main ones that we talked about.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Well, it sure has been a joy having you on the show and sharing some of your memories, and of course this wonderful music that we have, and I'm going to share a bunch of it with our listeners now. And if you're down in Nashville, if you're out at some of the guitar pulls or anything, make sure you look for June, because if you get a chance to see her and hear her sing, it's just truly amazing. You're just fabulous still to this day, June.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you on My Kind of Country. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we're going to play Agnes and Orville's hit song for you right now, and then I'm going to play some of June's other great songs from her Star Day years in Columbia and Decca for you, and take a listen to this beautiful music. And June Stearns, thanks again for being on My Kind of Country.
Well, thank you.